Hello and welcome. I hope that you are having an amazing week and weekend. Happy Saturday. My name is Dakota Smith. I am your host. I am a nurse, a childbirth educator, and a holistic health coach. And I am also a mama to two beautiful babies. I am recording season 2, episode 8 of the Holistic Mama podcast. And I just figured I would bring you along on YouTube. So here we go. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Holistic Mama podcast. My oldest actually just turned 2 yesterday, and I still can't believe that happened. 2 years is insane to me, but she is getting so big. Both of my babies are. I wanted to today dive into the subconscious mind. And we have talked about it in a few other podcast episodes, but this really came up because a few days ago I had one of my members in my free school community, She Creates Light, I'll link it below, and she was messaging me about a video that I put out into the school community about the subconscious mind and how it runs 95% of your life and how it's directly tied to your labor and birth experience. It really is tied to every aspect of your life, but also your labor and birth experience. And she messaged me and she was just saying, like, how do you know what these beliefs are? Like, how do you find these? And just to give you a little bit of context, the reason she asked me that is because in the video about your subconscious mind, I was explaining some of my own limiting beliefs that I have worked through. Whenever I was growing up, my mom struggled a lot with money. She had a very negative relationship with money. She had a very negative perception of money. She was always talking negatively about money. She hated money. She hated paying bills. Obviously, she didn't know what this was doing to my subconscious mind. I like to say between the ages of 7 to 10, your subconscious mind is fully developed. All of those years before that, it's a sponge. It is just soaking up information. And so I was soaking all this in as a kid. So as I grew up, I started to have tendencies and patterns that reflected that. I was not great with money. I was scared. It's just something that my whole life, I was always fearful of not having enough money. I would emotionally spend my money. I would spend my money very quickly. I was not good at saving my money. Whenever I joined the military, they gave me a credit card limit of like $15,000 at 18 years old, which is, I 100% blame them for that, but I was also irresponsible with my money. So you see how these tendencies and patterns showed up. And same with men. My mom was married and divorced 3 times. I grew up just not ever really being exposed to a healthy relationship between a mom and a dad. I never had that growing up. I didn't realize how much that would affect me until I got older. My first boyfriend was a piece of shit. When I did learn this lesson, I think I was like 19, almost 20, I started really digging into my shadow self and my subconscious mind, and now I'm married to an amazing man. But the reason I'm telling you all this is because in the video that she asked me about, I was explaining to her my limiting beliefs, and so she was wondering how I knew what my limiting beliefs were. That is exactly what we're going to cover in today's podcast episode. We're going to dive deep into the subconscious versus conscious mind, how to identify these subconscious beliefs, and even how it impacts your pregnancy, birth, parenting, and your whole freaking life, to be honest. So, what is your subconscious mind? Your subconscious mind is where your beliefs, memories, and your automatic habits are stored. This, again, runs about 95% of our daily lives. One of the best examples I could share is driving a car. How many times have you gotten in your car and you get to your destination and you're like, oh my God, I don't even know how I got here. You didn't even really consciously think about driving, you just did it. That's how much control your subconscious mind has over your daily life. You were literally able to get in a car, drive this big ass machine to a whole other destination without even consciously thinking about it. So as you can tell, your subconscious mind is extremely freaking powerful, and understanding your subconscious mind can transform not only how you experience birth, but also how you show up as a parent, as a partner, even in your career. It's pretty fucking amazing. So let's dive a little bit deeper into what the subconscious mind actually is. Subconscious versus conscious mind. These aren't two separate things. You don't have two minds. You have one mind, the conscious part of your mind. This is the logical thinking, short-term memory, decision making. So my conscious mind is me speaking to you right now, moving my hands, speaking into my microphone, and my subconscious mind, that's my habits, that's my emotions, my deep beliefs, my long-term memory. One thing I do, I wake up every morning and I watch my mind movie and I listen to my affirmation tapes. That's a habit I have. It's a habit I consciously created, but now it is a subconscious habit that I have. Get up first thing in the morning, grab my Bose headphones, put on my Mind movie. It's a 3-minute movie I made. It's like a vision board, but a movie. Ted Carr is the one I got that idea from. He's amazing. And so I watch my Mind movie while I'm on my toilet peeing every morning, wash my hands, make my cup of coffee. While my coffee's making, I make my baby's bottles, get everything ready for daycare. Those are habits that I have every single morning, Monday through Friday. That's what the first 5 to 10 minutes of my morning looks like. These are subconscious habits that I have. I wake up and they just happen. So how is the subconscious formed? The subconscious mind is developed primarily during childhood. This is shaped by your environment, your experiences, and repeated messaging. You can call it affirmations, you can call it repeated messaging, because again, affirmations aren't always positive, right? There's negative affirmations. An affirmation is just a statement that is affirming something. So there definitely are negative affirmations. If your mom's always saying you're never going to be successful, maybe it's one parent talking negatively about another parent, like your dad doesn't love you, your dad hates you. Those things go deep into your subconscious mind, especially in the early decade of your life. So they always say that babies and kids are sponges, and how you raise them in those first few years will literally shape their reality and their entire life, which can be kind of scary. But that's why learning about these things is so important, especially before you have kids or in the early stages of raising your kids. I do want to say, I completely understand both of my parents obviously did not know anything about the subconscious mind and subconscious reprogramming and affirmations and the power of your mind. And I used to hold a lot of anger and resentment towards my parents for that, because I'm just thinking how could you talk like that to me? And as I got older, I just had to realize they were doing their best. They were doing their best. They did not know about any of this stuff. I'm sure if my mom knew that the way she talked about men and her choices in men would literally affect my choices in men and how I grew up to be and the woman that I became, I'm sure she would have went about it a lot differently, right? But this is not something that was talked about as much even 20 years ago, 15 years ago. So what a time to be alive, right? But taking everything that we just talked about, the subconscious mind, how does that relate to birth, right? Just understanding that many of the beliefs that we hold about birth, like birth is painful, birth is dangerous, or birth is empowering, birth is beautiful, most of them come from messages that we absorbed growing up, or even movies that we watched. How many movies have you seen? Her water breaks in the middle of the store and everybody's freaking out, she runs to the hospital, she's screaming the whole time. Most births don't look like that. So it just goes to show you how our perception of things are shaped. It's just from seeing things over and over again, hearing other people's negative birth stories. All of these play a huge role in how we perceive births and even how we perceive ourselves. Do we believe that we can get through birth? Do we believe that we can handle the pain? Or do we believe that something bad's going to come up and we're not going to be able to get through it, right? And another thing I want to mention too is your mind isn't physical, right? Partially because whenever you have thoughts, that's neurons firing in your brain, so it can be physical, but your mind is just within your brain. It's just in there, which is really, really trippy to think about. If you are trying to rewire or reprogram your subconscious mind, I want you to think about it as a machine. If you've never heard of the book Psycho-Cybernetics, I 1000% recommend you read it. It's actually written by a plastic surgeon. He delivers this beautifully, just explaining self-concept and the perceptions that we have, the way we see ourselves. And he talks about this. And he says how our subconscious mind is literally a machine. And it doesn't understand whether what we're feeding it is good or bad. It doesn't care, frankly. It literally just gives you the outcome. It takes what you're putting in it and it gives you an outcome. Think about your subconscious mind as a machine, okay? Literally every aspect of your life, relationships, romantic or not, business, career, parenting, pregnancy, labor, birth, tie it to any aspect of your life and it'll be the same, right? Your subconscious mind works across the board the same. I love his idea of thinking about your subconscious mind as a machine because that is exactly what it is. At the end of the day, your subconscious mind, really its only job is to keep you safe. Okay, so we have to keep that in mind as well. Your subconscious mind's job is to keep you alive and keep you safe. It keeps your heart beating. It keeps all your systems systeming, everything flowing. It doesn't matter if your nervous system is regulated. It doesn't matter if you're scared. It doesn't matter. It just wants to keep you alive. That is its only job. So you have to program it. If you want to have better outcomes than you're receiving right now, you have to literally reprogram it. And part of reprogramming it is breaking down all the beliefs that you already have, hearing everything that we've already heard. I do want to take a pause and let you know that if you are listening to this and you've never heard about subconscious mind or subconscious reprogramming, and you're like, oh my god, this is a lot of information for me, I'm going to link a few podcast episodes below for you to start off with, because I know I'm not explaining a lot of the things that I'm saying, but I talk about the subconscious mind in almost every podcast episode that I have. So I'm going to link some below for you to start at and maybe come back to this video after you watch those, because I can see how this could be a lot for someone if this is your first time hearing about the subconscious mind. And diving into it, right? So if you are kind of like overwhelmed or like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm going to link some other episodes below for you to check out first. I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you right now. So let's talk about the third pillar to this, if you will, identifying subconscious beliefs. Okay, how do these beliefs show up? And this is really the meat and potatoes of this whole episode, because this is what one of my members came to me asking me about originally, was how do you even know like what these beliefs are, right? Which is a very valid question. I'm so glad she asked that. Number one, your habits and behaviors. So what do you do automatically, even if it does not serve you? Keywords, even if it does not serve you. What are some things that you do automatically? That could be the way you respond to people, the first thing you do when you wake up, what you do right before you go to bed. Like a good one, when you first wake up, do you grab your phone? Is it the first thing that you do in the morning? Grab your phone and start scrolling? Because if it is, shut that shit down right now. I'm really asking that because that's a great example of something that you do automatically without even thinking about it, but that does not serve you at all. So little things like that. What are some things that you can really start to examine in your life? What are some things that you do automatically, even if they don't serve you? And this could take a few days, it could take a few weeks, maybe you know right off the bat. You just have to start being more aware. But as you become more aware, you will start to realize these things. And it very well might make you uncomfortable. When I started becoming aware of my patterns, my beliefs, the way I responded to people, things I said about myself, the thoughts I was having throughout the day, I was like, like that's not good. It was not very comfortable for me to be calling myself out all day, but it was very necessary. So habits and behaviors, what do you do automatically? Number two, thoughts and self-talk. Notice repetitive thoughts, especially the negative ones. So what repetitive thoughts do you think throughout your day, especially the negative ones? And the positive ones are great too. We want to focus more on these, but what negative thoughts do you repeat every day? And I do also want to mention, whenever you're identifying these subconscious beliefs, don't worry about fixing them yet. Don't worry about changing them yet, reprogramming. We want to solely identify. No judgment, no like, oh my god, that's another one I have to change, whatever. Just identifying them right now. Just being super aware, jot that down, put it in your notes app, whatever. We'll come back to it. And I'm not saying that you'll identify a few and then boom, you're good forever. Like, we are human. So this very well might be an ongoing process. And you can make this absolutely specific to labor and birth. Especially if you're preparing, like labor is coming in the next few weeks for you, you can absolutely make this specifically about labor and birth. So we have habits and behaviors, thoughts and self-talk, repetitive thoughts, especially negative ones, emotional triggers. This has been the most uncomfortable. What situations or words make you feel intense emotions? What situations or words make you feel intense emotions? This one has made me extremely uncomfortable, but it has had the most impact in my life. In my marriage, absolutely. But for me, the biggest has been not work, but my relationship with my children. Noticing the situations that make me feel intense emotions, because obviously knowing what I know about the subconscious mind, knowing that my kids are literal walking sponges right now, and the things that I do and say and how I react is literally slowly shaping their entire life, their own self-concepts, and then that will shape their kids. Like, yeah, I feel like I have a heavy weight on your shoulders. So I'm every day working on being very aware of my emotional triggers and being aware of what situations make me feel intense emotions related to my kids. Or if I am really upset or I snap at my daughter, I have to sit back and be like, why did I just do that? What am I feeling right now? Because it's not my daughter. I'm not upset with her. She might just be like the icing on the cake right now, the cherry on top, but I'm not upset with her. So what is really going on with me? How can I fix that and then show back up for her the way that she needs me to? Because she's definitely not emotionally regulated. She's only 2. And it's not fair for her to show up as my emotionally dysregulated self and not be able to hold space for her as a 2-year-old. That has been hard. And I don't mean hard as in, how do I explain this? It's not easy, right? This work is not easy, but it is so simple. If you are into the mindset, woo-woo, then this is not going to be the last time you ever hear that. It is not easy, but it is simple. It is very difficult stuff to do because you are literally stuck in your ways. You're on a program. Your subconscious mind is literally on a program. That's why we call it reprogramming the subconscious mind. Let's move on to number 4. So this one is huge as well. Patterns in your relationships. So how do you interact with others? Are there recurring conflicts? And this obviously can go for any relationship, whether it's with your kids, if they're older, your parents, your coworkers, but in marriages, in partnerships, this is huge, okay? Noticing how you're interacting with them and what the recurring conflicts are. What do you feel like you're just going round and round on a hamster wheel about, right? Like, oh my God, we just had this conversation 3 days ago. Why is this happening again? Being super aware on those 2 things, interacting with them and recurring conflicts. And I will say, this absolutely, I just want to have a side note. I have had multiple clients that were diving into this, their subconscious, they're being hyper aware of their patterns and their thoughts and identifying their beliefs and doing all the work and showing up for themselves every day, even if they didn't feel like it, and even if they weren't showing up as their best self, they were still fucking showing up, and they were still taking accountability, because that's huge too. But their partner didn't want to hear what they had to say. Their partner wasn't ready for the subconscious talk yet. Their partner didn't want to talk about emotional triggers or their habits or their behaviors or the recurring conflict, because every time they came to sit down and talk about the recurring conflicts in their relationship, the partner got defensive. So, and I'm sure there's at least one person listening to this right now that can relate to this. So then what, right? And this is probably not the answer that many people are wanting, but it is the absolute truth, and I know from personal experience, you just have to keep planting seeds. Whenever you try to approach a recurring conflict or interactions in your relationships with your partner or with anyone really, but especially with your partner, your romantic partner, I mean. Whenever you try to approach this and they become defensive or they don't want to talk about it or they brush you off or they're deflecting, right? The last thing you want to do is push or say, oh my God, you never listen to me. Like, why don't I matter to you? Why doesn't this matter to you? Why don't you even care? Last thing you want to do, okay? You don't want to push, but just planting seeds, just you alone, just doing this work and starting to see it show up in your life and manifest in your life, starting to see you level up. Only one of 2 things can happen. The people around you either come with you or they drop off. There's only 2 options. They come with you or they drop off. They can only come with you if they level up. Okay, they would have to level up with you. Having faith that they will level up with you, and just you showing up no matter if they make you feel dumb about it. No matter if they're like, oh my God, your silly affirmations, your silly subconscious, whatever. I've heard it all. If you just keep showing up and pouring into yourself and being aware of your own patterns and thoughts and triggers, and you start leveling up in your own life, you are planting seeds. And they will watch you start to level up. And most of the time, they're going to think, oh shit, like this is really working for her. She looks fine as hell. She's accomplishing this. She's accomplishing that. She feels amazing. They're going to want to come with you. They're going to want to know what your secret sauce is, right? However, there's going to be some people who aren't going to want to come with you. They have limiting beliefs of their own. It might sound something like this. Oh, it worked for her, but it's not going to work for me. JOMO, they have joy of missing out. Also heard this from Ted Carr. There are going to be those people, and it could be someone really close to you, like your romantic partner. There are going to be some of you that have partners that don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear about your affirmations. They don't want to hear about your visualizations. Or they do, they just kind of brush it off, and they definitely don't want to hear about your recurring conflicts with them, because every time you bring it up, they get defensive. They don't want to hear about it. They think that you're blaming them. Not everybody's going to come with you, and that's okay. That is A-okay. There have been multiple times recently, actually, it happened to me, but there have been multiple times in my life where I have asked God, source, universe, divine, whatever you want to call them, I'm coming to you and I'm asking you that you release anyone from my life that is not here for my greatest good. With tears in my eyes, asking God for that every single time. Within 24 to 48 hours, something was happening. Most of the time it's someone close to me too, but I learned that every time someone or something is being removed, it's because God is making space for something better, someone better. And that would happen every time. Someone will be removed, and it might be someone I already know that we get closer because of it, or someone new comes into my life and becomes like this amazing relationship, this amazing friend that I would have never thought. So let's recap a little bit on these, identifying the subconscious beliefs. So we have number 1, habits and behaviors. Number 2, thoughts and self-talk. Number 3, emotional triggers. And number 4, patterns in relationships. Now let's tie that specifically to birth and parenting, right? If you fear birth, it very well may stem from a subconscious belief that birth is dangerous or uncontrollable, which we hear all the time, right? And similar to that, parenting struggles often reflect beliefs that you absorb about your own upbringing. And again, from personal experience, because of my own upbringing, for years I told myself, like, I'm never getting married. I'm never getting married. I've seen way too many failed marriages in my life. Like, what's the point? Or I'm never having kids. Like, I don't want to fuck up my kids. Straight up. I'm not having kids. I don't want to fuck up my kids. I don't want to have kids with the wrong person. And I told myself, like, I'm just not having kids. I'm not getting married. And it's really sad if you think about it, right? Because I was so scared of having kids, of getting married, because of the way that I was brought up, because of my own upbringing. And that just shows you how strongly those first 7 to 10 years, your own upbringing affects the rest of your life. So let's talk about why the subconscious mind matters in pregnancy and birth. Fear can cause tension. Fear and anxiety will cause tension in your body, which can lead to a longer and or more painful labor. I always use this analogy as well. If you get in a car wreck, if you see a car about to hit you, don't tense up. Why is that? Because number 1, you'll get your higher chance of getting injured, but also it will hurt that much worse. Which is why a lot of times whenever drunk drivers get in accidents, they survive and the sober ones don't, because their body's relaxed and they just don't sustain as much injury. Same thing goes for labor and birth. Okay, fear can cause tension, will cause you to tense up. And what's happening is you are literally fighting the natural labor and birth process of your body bringing your baby down through contractions. This is why having a strong mindset going into labor and birth is so important. This is why breathing techniques are so important. Using those breathing techniques to not only breathe your baby down, but to completely breathe out that freaking tension. How much better do you feel after you take a deep belly breath? Normally it takes me about 3 to feel amazing, but that's why I always say deep belly breaths throughout labor and birth, releasing that tension. Also, positive beliefs can and will create trust and calm, which promotes smoother experiences in general, but especially smoother labor and birth experiences. So, the mind-body connection, right? Your body responds to what your subconscious believes. It's like a machine. If your subconscious believes that birth is empowering, your body will align with that belief. If your subconscious believes that birth is scary, your body will align with that belief. You're going to go into birth probably feeling really tense because of the fear that you're holding. And this can go into parenting and relationships. Subconscious beliefs influence how you respond to challenges and show up for your kids, just like I was saying before. Being super aware of, if my daughter's pissing me off, understanding that my daughter's really not, like, my daughter might be, but why is she pissing me off? It's because I'm feeling something else. It's probably because I'm carrying something home from work that pissed me off, or I'm tired from work, and I have to sit with myself and say, why am I letting this affect me this much? Why am I snapping at her? In relationships, beliefs about your self-worth and communication affect how you connect with your partner. We're focused on pregnancy and birth, but do you see how your subconscious mind affects everything in your life? It can seem kind of scary, but it's also beautiful. So, now that we've went through identifying, we talked about what your subconscious mind is, what your conscious mind is. We talked about the fact that your subconscious mind is really this cool-ass machine that we all have. Let's talk about steps to reprogram your subconscious mind. So, biggest one, number 1, practice awareness. And this is how we're going to identify them. Practicing awareness. So spend time, I want to say at least a week. Some people, it might come to you sooner, but I want to say about a week. Spend time observing your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors without judgment. This is where you're going to want to take notes right here. Journal prompts to explore. I have 2 for you. What beliefs might be holding me back? Very simple. It's very, very simple. What beliefs might be holding me back? And what fears do I have about birth/parenting, and where might they come from? These are questions that you need to take your time on. You need to really dig deep into. Sit with yourself, fill up a page for each question. I want to say also, sometimes, especially if you're not used to doing mindset work, subconscious work, it might not come to you right away, and that is a-okay. It might take 3 hours, it might take 3 days. I like to call them downloads. Ask, and it will be given. I promise. Your subconscious mind will deliver. So just journaling this, just writing out the questions and sitting on it for a few minutes. If you don't get anything right away, that is okay. You might be in the shower 2 days from now and randomly have a thought like, oh, it's this. That happens to me all the time. So be patient with yourself, and also realize if you're not used to doing this kind of work, it might take you a little bit longer, and that is totally okay. So step 2, use affirmations. There are so many affirmations out there. An example of one: my body is strong and capable of giving birth. Another one: every contraction brings my baby closer to me. Another one: I was made to do this. I was made to birth my baby. I trust my body. I trust my baby. I mean, you can go on and on. The key points that you want to remember about affirmations is you want them to be present tense, not I will, not I am going to, but I am this, I am doing this right now. This is me. I'm owning this shit. That's how you want to feel whenever you're speaking these affirmations. I'm owning this shit. Okay? My body is strong. Not my body is going to be. My body is strong and capable of giving birth right now. So you want it to be present tense. I am statements for me are the most effective. I normally like to say I am whatever. But another point in affirmations is personalizing them. How can you personalize them to fit your experience? If you're desiring a home birth, your affirmations might look a little bit different than someone that's having a hospital birth or a birthing center birth. So try to personalize them and get as specific as possible. This will just accelerate everything. So present tense, specific. Step 3, visualizations. Let's talk a little bit about the science behind visualization, right? In a nutshell, the brain does not distinguish between real and imagined experiences. So visualization is literally rewiring the subconscious brain, because whenever you are mentally rehearsing literally anything, again, this can go into every aspect of your life, but we're talking mainly about labor and birth. Whatever you are imagining your ideal birth experience, you want to get specific. What do you see? What do you feel? What do you hear? What do you taste? Essentially tricking your body and your brain into believing that you are already in this experience. You are mentally rehearsing your birth experience. You're mentally rehearsing holding your baby. You're mentally rehearsing pushing out your baby. You are literally firing and wiring. You're creating new neural connections in your brain about this experience that hasn't even happened yet. It's fucking insane, but it's also amazing. So, step 4, repetition and consistency. This can absolutely take time, okay? But it can also happen fast. Consistency, repetition are key. Both of these are key, okay? The more often that you are practicing affirmations and visualizations, the better. Number 5, tools for healing subconscious beliefs. 3 main ones: meditation and mindfulness, being present in the moment. The trippiest but most amazing thing that I've ever heard and learned is there is no such thing as time. Like, the past isn't real, the future isn't real. The only thing that is truly real is the present moment. Another one, hypnobirthing techniques. You don't have to wait until birth and labor and birth to practice hypnobirthing. It's honestly just visualization and meditation put together. I practiced hypnobirthing my whole last trimester for both births, and it was amazing. I actually didn't even use hypnobirthing in birth, like during birth. I only used it when preparing for birth, and it did wonders. We actually have a lot of hypnobirthing, guided meditation, guided visualization, and affirmation tracks inside of She Creates Life, our free school community. I will link below. But I'm all about the meditation and hypnobirthing. And then the third is seeking therapy or coaching if needed. That does not mean you're broken, you're not weak for seeking therapy or coaching. Sometimes just having someone on the outside looking in to be able to say, like, hey, look, I see the disconnect. Here's where you are right now. Here's where you want to be. Let's just bridge the gap. Just having someone on the outside looking in can make a huge difference. Let's recap, okay? Awareness is the first step to uncovering your subconscious beliefs. The first step. You cannot identify any of your subconscious beliefs without being aware first. So, practicing being aware throughout your days, and this in itself takes practice, okay? Because you have subconsciously been not aware that you were doing these things for so long, for so many years. This in itself takes practice. So, please also hold compassion for yourself. Also, reprogramming is possible with the right tools and consistency. And I know, as someone who has not only helped people do it, but I've done it myself, it is absolutely possible with the right tools and consistency. Healing your subconscious mind creates ripple effects in all areas of your life. And not only your life, but everyone around you. And then whenever they start to heal their subconscious, it creates ripple effects in their lives and people around them. So imagine how many lives you can change just by healing your own subconscious mind, right? It's beautiful. Just to wrap up, if this episode resonated with you, please check out all of the resources that we have inside of our school community. It's absolutely free to join. It's called She Creates Life. I'll link it below. I've created videos, tools. Our whole entire course is inside of here for free. It goes into your subconscious mind, reprogramming your belief system. It even talks about the physical preparation for labor and birth. So if you're planning an unmedicated birth, hop in there, sister. We are waiting for you, and we're so excited to have you in there. But other than that, I am going to wrap up this podcast episode. I am so grateful. I think this is the shortest podcast episode I've done in like weeks, but I'm so grateful for your time. I'm so grateful that you stayed here until the end with me, and I'm truly grateful. I'm not going to name drop her because I'm not sure if she wants me to, but I'm truly grateful for the member inside of my school community that came to me with this question, because I honestly would have never thought to create this podcast episode if it wasn't for her. So I love you so much. I know you'll probably listen to this podcast episode and you know that I'm talking about you, but I love every single one of you so much. I am recording for YouTube right now, so thank you for staying along and listening as well. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything that we talked about, feel free to DM me. I'm on Instagram at holisticmama.dakota. My people on YouTube, feel free to comment. And I would love to see you inside of our free school community. I hope you have an amazing rest of your weekend. Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I hope everyone's able to get off of work and stay home with their families and celebrate this federal holiday. I am wishing you so much peace, love, and joy for this upcoming week, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.